welcome to Career Talk on Ogun State Television. My name is Lara Emmanuel. Today on Career Talk, we'll be talking creative writing. Are you a writer or you just love to write? Are you in your junior secondary school, senior secondary school, and thinking if creative writing is actually a career path? If that is your thought process, this is the episode for you. Today on Career Talk, I'll be interviewing a very beautiful and radiant medical doctor turned a creative writer. I'll be introducing her right after this short break. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us on Career Talk on Ogun State Television. So today on the program, I have Dr. Oluwatomi Olatunji. And then the doctor is not really a PhD. She is a medical doctor. So we have a lot of questions. I mean, why? I'm going to ask her all that. So she's a medical doctor turned creative writer. She's the founder and the lead writer at the Bone Writing Service. After obtaining a Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery from the Olabisi Onabanjo University in 2015, she continued clinical practice for just 3 years before making a full pivot into content writing and digital communications, leveraging skills she has been building for about 8 years. So, Dr. Oluwatomi.
Hello.
Hi. What a beautiful smile you have there. So please tell us about your academic journey.
Okay. Well, it's nice to be here. So I started out in science. I have a science background in the sense that my parents are both doctors, and we grew up around doctors. And so going to science class was just, it felt natural. It wasn't, nobody was pushing me to go into science. It was just, both of my siblings also went into science. So it was just like a natural path to follow. However, along the line, I started discovering that I had all these artistic talents. I could write. I've been writing since I was probably like 10 or 12. I still have some of those things I wrote, stories and all of that. So I discovered I could write. I loved designing things and using paper to design all kinds of things. But I didn't know where that fits into my life and into my academics. So I just followed the science path and I took that till secondary school, till I think it was SS1 was the first time going into SS2 that I started to think about, do I really want to be in science class? And then I know I discussed it with a few people, but at the time I wasn't sure of what to do because I'd already started science in SS1. So it would be like switching to arts in SS2, and I thought, how would I cope? Would I be able to catch up and all of that? So eventually I gave up on it and I finished secondary school in science class. But I knew at that point I'd really gotten to the point where I knew that I'm more of an arts person than a science person. But I still went ahead because you fill your JAM form in SS3. Yeah, and so it took me so long to fill my JAM form. I had that form for God knows how many months because I couldn't decide what to write in it. I was in science, so my options were, let me not say limited, but I had just a few options I could choose, and medicine was top of that list just because it was what I'd always seen around me. Yeah, and if I wanted to do anything in art, it would mean that I had to probably go back and prepare for an arts-based SSC and JAM. But I'd already passed JAM, I passed SSC as a science student. So I mean, just the weight of having to do all that again was too much for me. So eventually I went with medicine and I got into university and all of that. And just like I thought and predicted, as I got into uni, I knew that my interest wasn't really there. And I just said, okay, I'm here now, so let me make the most of it. So I made the most of my medical school years, and I finished. And of course, with medicine, you have to finish and go for what we call internship or house job. I know a few people that they didn't do internship, they just stopped it there. But I wanted to be sure that I finished because it's a requirement to get you what you get when you graduate is a provisional certificate, sort of. You need to get your permanent license to practice medicine. So I thought, let me just go all the way and finish this. Even if I'm going to leave and do something else, I want to be able to finish it. So I did my house job. I went for NYSC, also practice as a doctor because that's where they will post you to. Because I mean, you came into the program as a doctor, so I finished all that, and then I took a job here in Lagos State actually, as some people would see me, and I worked here in Lagos State HMB as a doctor for close to a year.
What is HMB?
That's the Ogun State Health Management Board.
Okay.
So I worked in one of the hospitals, state government hospitals in the state here. And that was the experience that sealed it for me. That I can't continue, I can't keep doing this to myself. It was a very, difficult experience. That's just what it was. I'm sure that there are people who enjoyed it, but for me, it was like, I can't wait to leave this, and I don't want to. One of the things I reminded myself was, I promised myself as a younger person that I'm not going to be one of those people who are frustrated in their career and they're just tired of it, but they don't get a chance to move on to something they actually enjoy. Your career takes up like a huge chunk of your life. You don't want to be stuck doing something you hate. And that was one of the things that propelled me. I needed a lot of encouragement. I'm not going to make it sound easy because making that kind of change is huge.
It's a bold step.
Yeah, you have to tell your family, you have to explain to some of your friends. And in medicine, the way it is like a community. So your teachers continue to be your teachers even after you've left medical school, because you will come back for what we call residency, which is a training, specialist training program. Those same people will now be your consultants. We call them consultants. So they'll be like your ogas till you finish. So it's a continuous community. So if you run into any of those people today, naturally the way it works in medicine, they will ask you, so what are you doing now? What did you eventually specialize in? And then you have to tell them, oh, sorry, I'm no longer practicing.
Oops.
And that's like a whole other explanation. So it was a lot. There was a lot at stake in that sense. But I was able to navigate it, and I'd already been writing. I started a blog when I was in like 500.
I was going to come to that, the blogging. I mean, you're not just a creative writer. You went into blogging, podcast, media, social media platforms, and the rest of it. But before we get into that, you decided to switch from medicine to creative writing. So tell us about that journey.
Okay, so the creative writing part of me was always there, and I've been using it. So like I said, I just started the blog for fun in school. So the reason I could fall back on writing was because I was already writing.
Oh.
So I was, the blog, and my classmates would say, oh, I really enjoyed it, and they'll make comments and put comments on that blog and all of that. So that made me realize, oh, I'm actually truly good at this. It's not just something that has been in my head, and I just ran it by the side while I was doing all this, final year exams and going to house job. And then when I got to house job was incidentally a doctor like me who told me that, oh, there's opportunity for writing commercially and like getting paid for it.
Wow.
And so she had actually been doing it. She schooled in Ukraine. She went to medical school in Ukraine, and she was saying that she used to dabble into that kind of writing. And that was where I learned that, oh, I could actually make money doing it. I didn't actually start writing knowing that I would make money of it. And then I said, oh, who's your plug? The way we say it, like, who's the person that you write for? And she connected me with that person. We're not able to do much writing then because house job or medical internship is very hectic. Yeah, like the lowest rung of the ladder. So you do most of the running around. You're like a foot soldier, so it's very stressful. So I couldn't write during that 1 year. But when I finished, usually the way it works, and this is interesting, the way it works is that when you finish house job, that 4 or 5 months while you're waiting for your NYSC posting, most people, go and just find a clinic to attach themselves to, just keep building their medical skills and their clinical skills. And I came home and I told my mom, I'm not doing that. But she was already saying, oh, you can go and talk to this person, you can go to this person's clinic. And I said, no, I'm going to write for these 4 months before I say.
Okay then, please hold that thought. I was going to come back till that. But it's time for us to listen to the young minds. Tell us what they would like to be in the future. May their dreams come true.
I want to become a robotic engineer in future because I love robots and I want to produce robots to make work easier and faster.
I'd like to become a doctor in future so I can save life and heal sick people.
Thank you for staying with us in Karachi for the Telugu State Television. And I'm still speaking with Dr. Tony. Dr. Tony turned a creative writer.
Oh my God.
Okay, you were saying something about how you need the most use of that 5-month waiting period before you went to the NYC. Please continue.
So I just went online and I started looking for writing vacancies. It was the most random thing. And I wasn't even sure I would have an opportunity when I told my mom that I'm not going to do clinical attachments for these 5 months. I'm going to write. And she was like, "Oh, are you going to make enough money? You know, what's going to happen? Is it not?" I said, "I'm not interested." And so I went and I just looked for vacancies at the time. And then I just found someone who said, "Hey, you know, you write for me." And it turned out that that person was on one of these platforms where writing really started, which is Fiverr. They have these platforms, you know, online where you can bid for creative jobs, not just writing, anything creative, videography, photography, designing, web design, all of that. And so there was also writing jobs, and he was getting the jobs that established himself on that platform. So he was getting a steady stream of jobs, and he sent it to me, and that was how I started to build.
So now let's talk about your parents and how they were able to take this sudden switch from you.
Okay, well, I wouldn't say that it was a sudden switch. As a matter of fact, in 500 level, I learned how to sew.
Really?
Yeah, I learned fashion designing, and I learned it properly. It's not.
How were you able to combine that with schooling?
Well, we had a strike. So
Oh,
it was a good thing. Well, it was supposed to be a good thing, but the strikes came in handy as we went up. When we were still in 100 level 200, you know, it was just medicine. But the moment I started to see my interest in other things, there was this long strike. It was like 5 months or so. And so I just went and I learned fashion design from a friend who was also a pharmacy student, you know. So they had seen, I'm just trying to say that they had seen the signs that this person is more into the creative world. And I remember my dad would make fun of me and say, "I hope you're not going to end up doing this fashion design thing because you're staying up all night. You struggle to stay up all night to read, but you're staying up all night to make, you know, an outfit." So I think they always had an inkling, but nobody, including me, nobody actually thought I was going to act on it. I wasn't sure.
and when you did, what was the reaction like?
So, well, we had a conversation. Thankfully, my parents are the type of people that will have a conversation with you. And we just had a conversation, and I knew that it wasn't easy for them. They didn't flip out. They didn't get dramatic about it, but I knew that it was not easy for them. Only that they had, I guess they've had practice a bit, because my brother, who also went to medical school, is not practicing. So that's still one of that.
It's a family thing.
You know, so I guess they had a bit of practice with him. So when I came, they were only, you know, concerned about, okay, so what do you want to do now?
Okay.
You know, and how do you make money?
Okay, now let's talk about creative writing. Are there areas of specializations? I mean, just for the sake of the young stars, the young minds that wants to go into it fully and are not so sure if it's a career on its own. Tell us about it. If there are areas of specializations, how to go about it, how to equip themselves. Yes, you're talented, but I'm sure it's not just the talent that keeps you going and makes you good at what you do.
Yeah, so I mean, for young people coming up in secondary school, I would say if you are looking at writing, first and foremost, it's a career. And it's a career at different levels. If you're looking at writing, the first thing you want to do is to maybe do English or journalism.
Okay.
That's something I didn't get to do, but I know that it does help. So English language or journalism or mass communication, those are lines that already prepare you properly for creative writing. Now, writing is so many different areas. So there's the entire thing is called content writing, right? But within it, there's now creative writing actually speaks to fiction, novels, things like that, where you come up with a story by yourself, some form of storytelling. Copywriting speaks to the writing that is like marketing.
Okay.
So the kind of writing that you do that markets a product. So all of what you see when you enter into people's websites, when you go to their social media, all of that is copy. Most newsletters, it's also copy because we're trying to sell you something. Whatever kind of writing is trying to sell you something or get you to buy something, get you to join a community, get you to do something is called copywriting. And the principles of copywriting are actually based on marketing. So that's what copywriting is about. And then now with the rise of technology, there's also what is called UX writing, which has to do with all the text you see in apps, in mobile applications and computer applications, web applications.
Okay. I know you can take us through that for a very long time. So now let's talk about the challenges that comes with writing.
Well, so the first thing is the basic challenges of being a creative. Just inspiration, and then sometimes earning the value for what you do, especially in our part of the world. Things like writing, there are still things that people are not sure if they should pay you so much money for. They know you are doing something great, but in terms of paying you, there's a bit of back and forth like, oh, is this, well, it's worth it, but do I want to pay this much for it? That's still something that, we get a lot. Of course, there are people that understand the value of what you do. So that's a challenge in this part of the world. But if you take your talents, online and try to serve clients from other parts of the world, you probably get paid much, much better because they appreciate the talent. So that's one. The other thing is also just getting your knowledge up. Writing is all about what you know. You can't write what you don't know. And one of the biggest issues, that can be there is you need to also be able to chase knowledge. You're not just going to sit down. You need to do the research. You need to know what's happening, and that can be a challenge for some people. And just sort of have a good foundation in knowledge and even in English knowledge itself. But I think one of the major challenges that I've found is one, being able to get as much value as you truly deserve for the work that you do. And just maybe now with ChatGPT and AI coming on board, you might feel a bit threatened, that, oh, are your services going to be needed? But I've also discovered that ChatGPT.
I think all you have to do is just to step up and then catch up with the.
Yeah, just write that. Basically, need to just say, well, you can. The thing is that the app actually does most of the work.
Oh.
So it can feel like, oh, why do I need a writer? When I literally just generate what I want from this. But having worked with it, I now realize that it actually has its limits. So it's not so much of a threat. But some people can consider that,
as a threat. Okay. So for so long you've been a creative writer. So what's your biggest motivation? What do you enjoy most about that?
So I think for me, it's being able to go back and read what I wrote and just be wild. Like, oh my God, I wrote that. That's one. And then two, I believe that words change people. And many of us have been changed by the books we've read, by the things people have said to us. And I like to see that power in action, like being able to write something that people need and literally turns off a light bulb in their heads, or it makes them change their minds about something really huge that can literally change their lives. I think for me, that's the biggest thing for me with writing.
Okay, before we go, is there any moment you've had to, beat yourself up for switching from medicine to creative writing?
Oh yeah, that answer is easy. No, really easy.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on the program, Dr. Tony.
Thank
Before
you
we go,
so
just
much.
in 30 seconds, quick advice to the young ones.
Well, explore your options. What you are seeing around you is not the only option you have for a career. Explore your options. Look at the things you like, study them, go online, use Google, and find the things that you actually like and enjoy. Don't limit yourself to just the career options you have seen around you growing up.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on Kayata Gotoluwatoni Olatunji.
Thank you for
It was a
having me.
delight talking to you, really.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you. And thank you too for staying with us in Taracho Konogo State Television. As always, we'll continue to bring you more career options on a weekly basis. My name is Lara Emmanuel. Do not change that dial. It is still Ogun State Television. See you next